Hello, Evangel Alumni. I'm Levi, if you don't know, and I'm sitting here with the guy you probably do know, Steve, and we're just talking today about our vision that has been around for a long time to really bless the community of Houghton County and really the world, and you guys are a part of that. We're sitting here in phase 1. This is our camping phase, and we're dreaming about phase 2, which has really a lot of cool things in it. It has a children's space that's 5,000 square feet, and it's an indoor playground. Can you imagine having that when Pete and your daughter were young, and Pete could tear that thing up a little bit, and we really just think like up here in this area, that would be one way to bless the community. There's a gymnasium, there's a larger worship center, there's classrooms and all of those things, but it's not really for us, it's really for the community, and to figure out how do we bless the community but also proclaim the good news of Jesus. As we were thinking and dreaming about this, I was really going, man, this vision for Evangel hasn't changed in a very, very long time. And you came in 1975, I think, if I remember correctly. I was 2 weeks old at that time when you came. And that vision was set then, and it has been continuing on. And so one of the things that I was thinking about is, in 1975, what were you guys dreaming about? What were you guys thinking about?
You know, really, Levi, I came here to a vision that was already in place, though really I felt the Lord gave me early on personally a real interest in working with college students in a college setting. That's where God really changed my life and just brought me seriously into the kingdom, and I had that desire as I left college, but there was a vision here before my time that was Pastor Levi, and there was another man by the name of, his last name was Pierce, and that's a long story, but I can just say Evangel was established with a vision to reach, primarily to minister to college students, but seriously to reach beyond that. And I came here, and there was a group of students here waiting. They were fired up to have a full-time pastor because the previous pastor had been missionary and working full-time in the community to support himself. But also he had built a building. Our initial building, but he did most of the work on, along with a few other people that came alongside. But I just came to a place that had vision already, and we just there's a real continuity that hasn't been ever broken of just reaching people, seeing people go out, seeing people reached in the community, growing from essentially it was called University Baptist Chapel, so it was like people didn't see us as a real church, like we're this little chapel for students to come into, but we changed the name of the church for that reason. We wanted to be a community church, but we were right there, and gradually God brought in some families. We started out with one family in the church when I first came here, and 4 or 5 older people who came from another church that had merged into our ministry, and it was all students. It was, so students come and go, and we were working the one family and a couple married student couples. We were working them pretty hard. So God brought us more families, so we could really minister to students better with more continuity. But we realized in the process we needed to develop disciples from the community people that came in too. So, but that vision's always been there, the big picture, the potential, and it was just so exciting to see that vision continue and really blossom. That little mustard seed turned into to a tree, you know.
I was
pretty
so
neat.
thankful coming in, and I got to take over for you who had ministered here for 40 years. And really, I was just so thankful, like the systems that were in place and the vision. You're right, the vision was already there. How do we reach the community? What does it look like to create disciples? What does it look like to send people out? And one of the things that I really loved about this place early on and even today is every year there's graduates of Michigan Tech, but they're also graduates of Evangel, and that passion to pour into them and that passion to create disciples to go and bless other communities. One of the things that I was thinking about also, I've been here for 5 years, but you've spent a long time here. And what are some of those kind of highlight memories of some of those people that Evangel, they didn't support them like dollar-wise like a missionary, but they sent them out as missionaries to go into engineering fields or whatever field that they were. What are some of the highlights of that?
Well, there have been lots of highlights of students who've gone away with, I think, the vision they got here. And they've plugged into churches all over where they've gone. I mean, that engineering world especially takes students to the cities and to churches, and many of them are deacons, elders in their churches out there. And once in a while, a student would call me for some advice on how we're calling a pastor. How should we do that? Or different questions people had from time to time that just told me they're plugged in. They're right out there doing it. And of course, the support that we had from students all over when we put the addition on our building, we had some real good support from students, and they were showing up. They owned the vision. They saw ours was expanding, and they were interested. And we still hear from students, Christmas time, letters and cards and so on. So it's exciting to see that they got something here that they've taken with them.
Sure. One of the things that as we kind of went to this space, I was thinking, Evangel has been consistent on God put something in front of us, and we take the next step that God tells us to do. We're not thinking way down the road in like this 20-year plan. I don't think anyone would have thought, hey, let's buy Shopko in 20 years. But it's always like these opportunities, and people's faith has been faithful in the right moments in time for Evangel really to expand. And when you guys expanded, what were some of the fears and some of the things that you were kind of going through as a congregation as you're going, okay, we're going to do this. We probably don't have, I'm just assuming you probably didn't have whatever it cost, $500,000 at that time in the bank to purchase that. But people were faithful and generous and continued to move on that. What were some of the fears and what were some of the celebrations that came out of that?
Yeah, I can see it's very similar, just not as big, but there are more people now too. But at the time, it was a $500,000 project, and we had $50,000 in place. And I think everybody believed, just like they have believed the last 20 years now. But at that time, everybody realized we need room. So I think there was a sense of agreement and shared ownership of the idea that we needed to do this. We went ahead and started planning. So the question of need was settled in our minds, but how was the doubt. And I think there were people who expressed like, well, how are we gonna? Where's that money going to come from? How's this going to be financed? And people coming with different ideas, but we just took it a step at a time. And by the time we had the shell up, we had it was half paid for, and we were able to just get a good beginning. which is what you have this time. Very good beginning with the sale of the property. And God took care of the rest in a short order. It wasn't an extremely long time to completely pay off the building. And, God just showed up like he does.
Yeah.
When his people are united in the vision and the Spirit's leading them. And I think that's the case right now. And I think there's every reason to trust that he's going to show us that he's the one who's doing it. We're not going to do it all by ourselves or anything to thump our chest about, but God will provide, and he's showing up already so many ways now, and it's important to see that.
Did I ever tell you the story of how we sold the building?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It
was kind of a start, and then
so somebody bought it.
Yeah.
And they backed out 2 weeks before but we needed the money to actually purchase this. And I was really sweating it. I didn't want the staff to see me sweating so bad. And I took a ride to Calumet and really felt like God was just saying, Levi, I've got this. It's not you. It's not on your shoulders. And I went there, met with another local pastor, and he just said, you need to get in the scriptures and seek God's peace. And so I did that when I came back to the office. And so I opened up my phone, and I don't usually use my phone to read the scriptures, but I did. And there was a verse of the day, and it said, unless the Lord builds a house, you labor in vain. Perfect. And I was like, man, that is like, God like meme slapped me in that moment. Like it's his to do. And the next day God showed up, and we had another buyer, and the old building's going to be called Kataluma, kind of an homage to what it once was, which is the Greek word for inn. And really just the guy who bought it just loves Jesus and wants to bless the community and bless the students. So really cool to see that being used in that way also. But as you think about like in that 2000, is that when you guys built? 2001, somewhere in there?
2001.
Yeah, which is really actually a difficult time to be building with all the things that were going on at that time in our country. But I was thinking, how did the alumni play into just really encouraging and maybe even supporting financially?
Significant. We even had many alumni show up and help us.
Okay.
Through the summer, a number of them took vacation time, came up and spent a week. A couple people spent a couple weeks with us, just doing wiring or whatever, we were doing. So we had regularly scheduled students coming several weeks over the summer, and thank John Childs for that, who is one of our homegrown missionaries at Evangel. He was also a contractor and a carpenter and so on. So he kind of managed our he came back. He came back for the whole, pretty much the duration of the construction, and he was our manager, and he had the idea of contacting students, inviting them to come up and join us, and they did. So they came up manually and worked, but also there were significant contributions, which I don't know the exact number, but it was a significant percentage of the investment that we were making. And so they were with us. Yeah.
So in our capital campaign that we're going for the next phase in this, it's called Lifeful Living. And it really comes off of John 10:10b, where Jesus, he says, I've come to give you life in the full or in abundance. And really thinking, like, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? And so what we've said is, really living for the Lord, being on mission with the Lord, seeking to how do we reach the lost, because he's left us for a mission. And then the legacy. What is the legacy that we're leaving for our kids in the next generation? And I think one of the ways that the alumni play into this is really in that, all of them, but really in that legacy component, because they were here for 4 or 5, some of them 8 years, 10 years, whatever, for when they're getting their PhDs and stuff. And we know that they don't have a lot of money, but you guys did it and we do it, and as a church we want to resource and love them and have finances for them there, but that legacy part, I think, where they play into this thing for us is going, hey, how do I pay that back now? How do I create that space that for those 4 years that I was at college, that people were pouring the gospel into me and Jesus into me? One of the ways, obviously, is through financial means. They didn't have money. Well, if you graduate from Michigan Tech, you probably have money now. And so that's one of the things. I think also just like the prayer part and just these encouraging notes, we get those often, and I'm sure you guys did during that season, of really going, hey, we're just excited for you. I got a letter just the other day, and it actually had a check in it. Just like, we're just loving the ministry that you guys have been doing for so many years, and you're a part of that, and you've left that to and now you have a ministry somewhere else in Grand Rapids. But we're all a part of this whole thing, and there's this connectedness that I really love about Evangel, and really see our alumni playing into that legacy component as they did many years ago.
Yeah, and even when we were a smaller church, it's surprising, there were students who didn't have a lot of money who were still faithfully giving too. They were a part of, even when they were here.
Yeah.
So, realize they're financially limited, but they did what they could. Sure. And it mattered. It
Absolutely.
mattered back then, and it matters now too.
Yeah.
Whether they're here or out there.
Yeah. So as we go into this next phase, and we now have parking, which is a really wonderful thing. We had 43 spaces in the summertime and 38 spaces in the wintertime. Now we have many more than that. But what, as you kind of see this from, you've left for a little bit and you kind of see this thing going, what excites you about it?
Well, I think the biggest thing, there's a lot of things, but one of the big improvements is visibility. Because for most of my time here, most people did not know where Evangel was. If I told them I was a pastor of Evangel, if they asked me what I do or whatever, and I'd tell them, they'd say, "Where's that?" I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Even with that new sign, we put about $5,000 into a nice sign.
Yeah.
I thought that would get someone's attention. It didn't appear to.
Sure.
So visibility is huge, but that's not the biggest thing. Really, the big thing is the word's going out in a solid way, consistent way. It's awesome, Levi. I'm just blessed by your teaching and preaching, and your writing too, and just your vision, your leadership. Such a boost. But the word and the gospel are so clear and powerful.
Yeah. We're so thankful I'm so thankful for the legacy that you've left, and thankful that, I got to really take over something that was already running and moving and going, and that's been a hallmark of this church, is that we're going to hold on to the Word of God, and we're going to live by it, and we're going to proclaim it, and it's just been a blessing for myself and my family just to be a part of something that is much bigger than just us, or and so thankful for you and Marcia and just the years of faithfulness of just continuing on that vision. We're excited at Evangel to see what God has for us next. We want to reach this community, and God, the Father's heart is that no one would be lost, that all would come to repentance, and that's what really our goal is. Like, we're going to be faithful at proclaiming and allow God to do work in people's lives, and we're just hoping for a great harvest in these next days and next years as God does really cool things here.
Yeah, and I want to say too, I feel like my ministry here, I have so much to owe to just some strong leaders who are alongside. We've just been blessed. Evangel's been blessed with some really good leadership, whether it's an official office, deacon or whatever, but just all across the board. It's just been people on board and really serving the Lord and faithfully connected together. And it's so cool to see that.
Yeah.
It's just that maintaining, and hopefully that part of things growing too, because it takes more than you and me, right?
That's absolutely.
We that leadership base is what gives stability and growth.
Yep.
To the word being put out there.
In Zweihausen, is that how?
Yeah.
I mean, his vision for this. Larry Golden came back a few years ago, and he's like standing in the back, and he's total energy type of guy. And what is he, 90 years old, something
He's
like 89,
up
something.
there.
He's up there in years, and he's like, oh, Zweihausen would love to see this. Just college kids all over and people all over the place.
Would.
And, but really coming off of, I think, a vision that God had given him that you took, and that now the church is continuing on, and we're just trying to be faithful to what God has called us to be in this community.
It's a great baton, man.
Yep.
It's a great baton to be handed.
Yep.
Yeah, well, praise God.
Well, thank you guys for listening to us just talk, and we're just so thankful for Evangel and what God has called us into in ministry. And we want you to partner with us. And if you want to just continue to pray for us, and obviously this is a huge project. It's millions of dollars that we want to resource. And it's not just about a building, it's about a community who will proclaim the goodness of God. And we really, our desire in our hearts is that God would capture people's attention as they walk into this building long enough for him to be able to capture their hearts. And that's our goal. And so I want you guys to have an opportunity to partner with us. And we're just thankful for God's faithfulness through the years, and thankful for you guys who have been a part of Evangel for many years. Thanks, and we'll keep you updated on what's going on.